Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in to the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Might as well call it the Taylor Sharp Show today because I am here with you for the next 2 hours. Hunt Palmer is out. And, it's funny. I fill in for Hunt quite often, and I don't think a single time I've ever actually known where he is. But nonetheless, what I do know is that he will be back tomorrow. And we are hanging out here with you. Got Jacob Beck on the audio board, Casey Gaines on the video board. Guys, how was y'all's weekend? I've been out since Tuesday. You guys have a good Thanksgiving, Beck. How was your Thanksgiving, man?
Yeah, it was good. Pretty much the usual for me in terms of family, and it was pretty solid, man. I will say, had some issues with the Thanksgiving food. Maybe a little too much, but all in all, I think it was pretty successful.
Thanksgiving, too much sounds like a good problem to have. Casey, how about you? How was your Thanksgiving, man?
Doing good. Finally winding down, getting back into the flow of actually doing work. So, yeah, doing good.
Yeah, it's wall to wall for me today, man.
Yeah.
I was in your spot on OTB, had to fill in for Mario, board hopping for Charlie and Hanny, and now I'm here 1 to 3. So, guarantee not pulling any punches as far as my workload today. It's payback for taking a week off. But look, anyways, we are hanging out here with you, giving you a little rundown of today's show. So what we have for you today, first hour, it's going to pretty much be all college football talk. We're going to talk LSU A&M. Second hour, unfortunately, yes, we do have to talk New Orleans Saints. We're going to get there 1:30. We're having Denton Day on Sirius XM College Football for his weekly hit here on the Hunt Palmer Show. And at 2:15, Ross Jackson from the Locked On Saints podcast. He's going to come on. He's going to give his take on the outlook of the Saints moving forward. Spoiler alert, I feel like he's not going to have very many positive things to say. But as I mentioned, we're going to start college football here in hour number 1, and let's dive right into it with the big game that we all watched this weekend. It was LSU versus Texas A&M. The Tigers get the win, 42-30 over the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, final score-wise, you'll look at this game and say, okay, this went about how I thought it would. I thought the LSU defense struggled a little bit more than expected, but with this defense, really nothing is surprising. Again, the Tigers get a 12-point victory, but a little bit of credit to Texas A&M. Never thought those words would come out of my mouth, but they played the exact type of game they needed to in order to win this football game. They had ball control offense. LSU only ran 23 plays total in the first half of this football game, and at halftime, the Aggies had a time of possession advantage of 19 and a half minutes to around 10 minutes or so. I mean, that's 2-1. And then after the third quarter, it was about 30 minutes to 15 minutes. It was really that fourth quarter for LSU where the athletes showed up, where Jaden Daniels may have had his Heisman moment. We'll get into that a little bit later. But like I mentioned, Aggies had a ball control approach. Jalen Henderson, their third-string quarterback, I thought played pretty well. I mean, he went 25 of 35, over 200 yards passing, had a couple touchdown passes. But the Aggies' first drive, 17 plays, 67 yards. I am not sure how that is possible on a scoring drive. That's less than 4 yards per play. It's 3.9 yards per play. So again, I thought the defense struggled the first 2.5 quarters against Jalen Henderson. They were actually down 24-14 at one point. The turning point of this ball game for me, it was the Greg Penn interception. It was 24-14 at that point. It's middle of the third quarter. After that, the entire tone of this game changed. And, Greg Penn's a guy that had been mentioned on the broadcast in that game, but for a lot of the wrong reasons. I thought he had a really tough game before that, but look, it only takes one big play to kind of change things for you. And look, you look at his final stat line, and Jaden Daniels goes 16 of 24, but I thought he was pretty pedestrian in the first half. I mean, missed some throws early that we saw him hit earlier in the season. First quarter, first 2 touchdown drives for LSU, they were Josh Williams touchdown, Logan Diggs touchdown. So you're like, okay, is Jaden losing his grip on that Heisman Trophy race? That wasn't the case. The fourth quarter happened. He finishes 16 of 24, 235 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, also 11 carries for 120 yards. And it was that big 4th and 4. It was in the third quarter. You had to go for it. You knew you couldn't stop Texas A&M. What does Daniels do on 4th and 4? He drops back, and like so many times this season, nothing was open. He takes off, and he gets about 51 yards on that play. So Jaden did exactly what we thought he was going to do. Malik Nabers continues to be that dude. He's the best wide receiver in the country for my money. He should win the Biletnikoff Award. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show because I have some real problems with some of these trophy votings. Look, he finished with 6 receptions, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got the game ball. He set the record for most career receptions by an LSU receiver. He's only about 22, 23 yards away from the career receiving yards record. He says he wants to play in the bowl game. We'll see what happens when that time comes around. Kind of a pleasant surprise for me in this game. It was LSU's ability to control the line of scrimmage. I thought they did a good job on really both lines of scrimmage. They stuffed A&M in the run game. Now, A&M had 96 yards rushing, but it was on 41 carries. They only had about 2.5 yards per carry. LSU, on the other hand, they averaged 5.5 yards per carry. And while you didn't have to rely on the running backs, I thought when you gave it to them, they were very efficient. It was the 3rd and 4 on your own 35, 36-yard line again in the third quarter, and it was a first down you had to pick up. What does Mike Denbrock do? He sends Malik Nabers in motion. You hadn't relied on your running backs all game long, and you fake it to Malik on the jet sweep. You hand it to Logan Diggs up the middle. He picked up about 5 or 6 yards. I thought that was one of the best play calls of the entire game. I mentioned Jalen Henderson, the Texas A&M quarterback. He goes 25 of 35, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have that crucial interception to Greg Penn. But overall, I liked how LSU finished. Did not like how they started. I thought that, when A&M went up 24-14 in the third quarter, I was like, LSU's really going to be in trouble. Because since A&M joined the SEC back in 2011, 2012, whenever it was, you beat that team 7 years in a row. A&M won 3 of the last 5 going into Saturday. If you would have lost that again, you would have been heavy favorites against A&M 2 years in a row, lost to them 2 years in a row, and then that would have given them a 4 out of the last 6 win advantage. That would have been an unacceptable loss. This loss last year was unacceptable for Brian Kelly, for the entire LSU team. I thought this was another one. I thought they were able to do what they could not do a year ago. That was pick it up, come from behind, make just enough plays on defense to win this game. I was very pleased with it. And, some kind of off-the-field notes that happened in this game. 2 players entered the transfer portal after this game. Max Johnson, we're all familiar with him here in Baton Rouge, the former LSU Tigers starting quarterback. I guess now formally with A&M as well. He announced he is going to enter the transfer portal. He's a grad student. He will be immediately eligible. No word yet on if Jake Johnson's following him. Not sure what's going on there. It'll be his 3rd school of his college career. But to keep it local in the LSU terms of things, Armani Goodwin, LSU running back, he announced that he's going to enter the transfer portal. He's a guy that came in with a Corey Kiner who is also since transferred as well. And you saw the explosiveness with an Armani Goodwin. You saw flashes. I remember they gave him number 22, and you were throwing the ball to him out of the backfield, and everybody was like, hey, this guy, he could be the next Clyde Edwards-Helaire type of back, the small, shifty guy. I thought he was a lot faster than Clyde. He was that 100-meter champion in Alabama coming out of high school. He's a guy that when he was on the field, he made plays, whether it was in the running game. I just mentioned his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. What really messed with Armani Goodwin was his inability to stay on the field. This is a guy who seemed like every time he touched the ball, he was injured, and that's not ideal. What do they always say? The best ability is availability. No word yet on where he will transfer, but he will finish his college career elsewhere. Kind of back to LSU as a whole. Look, we just talked about it. They beat Texas A&M. They finished 9-3 on the year. Have a chance for 10 wins with the bowl game. Now, we await the bowl destination, but today, a lot of action came out about where LSU is going to play in that bowl game. The overwhelming majority of people believe it's going to be in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, Florida. That's the Monday, January 1 bowl game. It's the former Outback Bowl for any of you that are wondering. It's a bowl game that LSU has been to quite a few times. So that kind of seems like the consensus of where LSU is going to go. Now, as far as who their opponents are going to be, 3 different options, but overwhelming favorite right now is Brian Kelly's old team, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Mark Schlabach says Notre Dame. Brian Fisher of Fox Sports says Notre Dame. And Stephen Lassen from Athlon Sports also put his pick in for Notre Dame. For what it's worth, Jerry Palm from CBS and Kyle Bonagura from ESPN, they say that Palm has LSU playing NC State. Bonagura has LSU playing Wisconsin. So we'll see what happens there. As an LSU fan and a fan of Brian Kelly, you got to want to play Notre Dame. Not only because the last few times you played him in a bowl game, it hasn't gone your way. You've lost to him, including in 2017, Ed Orgeron's first full season as head coach. You lost that bowl game. It was in the Outback Bowl. It was kind of that rainy, cold game. You all remember it. It was the Connor Culp game where he missed all the field goals. He ultimately missed an extra point. You have that game won, but at the very end of the game, the Notre Dame wide receiver made a phenomenal play, broke about 6 tackles, scored a touchdown. That's the last time you've seen Notre Dame. And then, you take Notre Dame's coach from them. They think they have a good thing going with Marcus Freeman. I think that remains to be seen. But look, for Tiger fans everywhere, if you could play Notre Dame in a bowl game to get you to 10 wins, Brian Kelly gets revenge over his old team. Look, I know it's not the college football playoff. I know it's not a New Year's Six bowl. I think that a New Year's Day bowl game victory over Notre Dame to put you at 10 wins. I think most fans at the beginning of the year, if you'd have told them, hey, look, this is probably what's going to happen, there would have been a lot of disappointment, but for the most part, you would have taken that outcome. So we'll see where LSU winds up in that bowl game, but right now it's looking like the ReliaQuest Bowl, and you might play the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. All right, look, we're going to take a timeout. That was a lot of LSU information there. We're going to continue our college football. We're going to expand a little bit. We're going to recap the SEC football season, or weekend, I should say, and then the season as a whole. Where did teams finish standing-wise in the East and West? Over the summer, I filled in for Hunt here, and I gave my predictions on order of finish in the East and West, and we're going to go ahead and call me out right now. We're going to look at the final standings and see how that compared to my preseason prediction. Spoiler alert, not very good, but we'll get into that right after this here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins on the money line. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. They include spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the National Football League. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued in eligible bonus bet. It expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
Join Taylor Sharp for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll be reacting to A&M and LSU. How's the Heisman race looking? Saints, Falcons, and much, much more. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Congratulations to Bradley York. Bradley is the season champion in our 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em. Bradley wins a brand new 75-inch TV and a sound bar to go with it. Also, congratulations to Kevin Helt Sr. and Everett Fakiti. Kevin and Everett are Week 13 winners in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em contest and win a Twin Peaks gift card. And that wraps up the Pick'em contest for the season.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show, a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, filling in for Mr. Hunt Palmer. He will be back tomorrow. Dude, I saw that 75-inch TV in the hallway last week before I left.
I almost forgot what it was.
Significantly bigger than 75 inches. I have a 65-inch at the house, and then I was looking at that, and I was like, that's double the size of my TV easily. Maybe the box was way bigger than the actual TV. Like, I was jealous. I was like, I want that TV. Well, but shout out to him.
I do think the TV is, I do think the box is a little bit bigger. But yeah, I saw that downstairs in the hallway, and I forgot, and then I just thought about it. Yeah, that's for the contest winner. So yeah, not whoever won, but Mr. Bradley got himself a massive TV, and I hope he's got somewhere to put it because that is an absolutely giant TV.
Yeah, it was huge. Jealous over here, but look, we're going to continue our college football talk all in the first hour. We hit on LSU and Texas A&M in the first segment. Want to kind of broaden it a little bit to the SEC as a whole. I thought it was a really good weekend for SEC football, but because of the Thanksgiving holiday, games were kind of all over the place. I mean, I'm sure Hunt came in here on Friday and recapped the Egg Bowl. It was on Thursday night. Ole Miss 17-7 over Mississippi State. Look, I get it. Ole Miss probably should have won by more than that. They're a better team than that, but it's a rivalry game. It this point in the season, that's all Mississippi State was concerned about. I mean, they fired their coach halfway through the year. They're not having a good season. So Ole Miss did exactly what they needed to do to win that game, and they got out of there with a double-digit victory. Missouri on Friday, they were able to take down Arkansas, and we kind of all expected that, but 48-14 was a really good margin. Puts them at 10-2 on the year. Now, I know a lot of people are talking about, oh, well, Nick Saban, the job he's done with Jalen Milroe, and they were bad at the beginning of the year. Maybe Coach Saban's SEC Coach of the Year. Maybe it's Kirby Smart again. I don't know how it's not Eli Drinkwitz at this point. To take this Missouri team to 10-2, a team that nobody thought would reach these heights, myself included. We'll look at the SEC standings here in just a few minutes. I don't know how at this point you can't give Eli Drinkwitz just unanimously SEC Coach of the Year. We got Casey Gaines over here. He is a proud Kentucky fan. The Kentucky Wildcats, they get a top 10 win, one of a few that Mark Stoops has out there in Lexington. That's kind of been the knock on Stoops was, hey, you're doing a good job at Kentucky. This is okay for their fans. They're a basketball school and all that, but can you break through? Can you get that signature win? And he didn't do it in the SEC this year, but he gets a top 10 win against the in-state rival Louisville Cardinals, 38-31. Ray Davis, really good football player. I mean, that guy is pretty much Kentucky's entire offense. I don't think that this win saves my opinion of Devin Leary. I still don't think he is a very good college quarterback. I get it. In 2021, he had 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's great. He's had 3 bad seasons to go along with that. That's the exception, not the norm. It is not the rule for Devin Leary. It is the outlier. He has not been very good this year, completing a little over 50% of his passes on the year. Not great. I think that's what's held Kentucky back this year. Probably more than anything. Obviously, LSU gets the 42-30 victory over the Texas A&M Aggies. Tennessee beats Vanderbilt 48-24. We all saw that coming. Vanderbilt once again winless in the SEC, something that just seems to happen year after year. And Georgia struggled a little bit with Georgia Tech. I thought Haynes King had a decent game. Carson Beck kind of uncharacteristically not efficient because he hasn't blown the doors off numbers-wise, but he's been efficient. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's had a good completion percentage. None of that was really the case on Saturday, but look, they get out of there. They're the number 1 team in the country. They're undefeated. They beat Georgia Tech. South Carolina loses to drop them to 5-7. That might be the biggest disappointment for me, at least in the SEC this year. A lot of people were really high on them. And then, coming into the year, I looked at South Carolina and I was like, hey, if Spencer Rattler can do anything close to what he did the last 4 or 5 games of the season last year, they could be a pretty good squad. Now, Rattler was okay. He was pretty solid for the most part. He avoided turnovers, which was kind of the biggest knock on him in his college career, but that offensive line, way worse than most people thought they were going to be. They had no chance in a really tough SEC. So Clemson gets that victory, 16-7 over the Gamecocks. Want to highlight 2 games. What was probably the best game of the weekend and the most gut-wrenching if you were an Auburn or an LSU fan. That was Alabama's 27-24 victory over the Auburn Tigers. So I was driving home from Texas on Saturday. That's where I was this past week on vacation. Wife's sister lives in Texas. We spent Thanksgiving up there. So I'm driving home, and I get home about 5:30, so I'm able to catch the very end of this game. And, me and my dad, we both share a disdain for the Alabama Crimson Tide, as I'm sure a lot of people around these parts do. I call him up, and I'm like, hey, turn on the TV right now. Alabama's about to lose this game. It's 4th and goal from the 31-yard line. Auburn has them on the ropes, and what did they say bad teams do? Bad teams find a way to lose big-time games. That's what the Auburn Tigers did. I mean, Jalen Milroe, he dropped back. He threw up a prayer in the back of the end zone. Isaiah Bond comes down with it, gets a foot inbounds. They go up by 3 with about 25 seconds to go. And Auburn's not a quick strike offense by any means. They were pretty much cooked at that point. The issue I had with that, look, I get it. You threw it up to Isaiah Bond. He made a great play. Sometimes it happens. You had 8 guys in coverage if you're Auburn, okay? Alabama has 5 receivers. So you have 3 guys are double teamed. And then the 2 players on the outside, they only have a single defender on them. But then Auburn rushes 2 And their third guy that was not in coverage was a spy on Jalen Milroe. Why? He has to go 31 yards to score. Look, you either send a blitz or you drop those guys back into coverage and put an extra defender back there at the end zone. If Jalen Milroe takes off on 4th and goal from the 31, breaks a couple tackles and gets into the end zone, then props to him. Give him a pat on the back, shake his hand, tell him, good job, you are better than we are, and you move on. Why are you spying a quarterback, though? He wasn't taking off to run. Either send a blitz and put some pressure on him or drop the other guy back in coverage. I thought that was a blunder by the Auburn defense, by Hugh Freeze, by the entire coaching staff. And look, when you're playing a team as good as Alabama, it only takes one mess up. And Auburn had that mess up at the worst time of the game, and it cost them. Alabama gets out of there with their season really on the line. They finished 11-1. They're number 8 in the country right now, but they got a shot to get into that college football playoff if they could beat Georgia in the SEC championship game next weekend. That would not have been the case if Auburn would have been able to pull out that victory. Another game I want to highlight is Florida against Florida State. Look, I get it. Florida State's undefeated. They were 11-0 coming into this game, but they were without Jordan Travis, who was your entire offense. I mean, you start Tate Rodemaker, was not very good. And Florida has their backup quarterback in as well, but Max Brown had played a good bit this year. He was kind of their running quarterback, and you know, he was all right for the most part, but that's a game you got to win if you're Billy Napier. I mean, look, let's call it like it is. Billy Napier is on the hot seat. This is back-to-back losing seasons for him as the Florida Gators head coach. Not a lot of coaches in Gainesville do that and survive to a third season. I think he will, but I think it's very much up in the air now. I get it. Max Brown, he goes 9 of 16, 86 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. Though Montrell Johnson ran the ball well. He had 107 yards, a touchdown, average over 5 yards per carry. Even Trevor Etienne, I mean, he averaged over 4 yards per carry. You had this game won. And for the second time this year, you lose a game because whether it's coaching, whether it's a discipline issue, whatever you want to call it. You remember earlier in the year, Florida lost the game because they had 2 guys on the field with the same jersey number. It was on a special teams. It was a punt return. You can't have that. That ultimately cost them that game. On this, like, Rodemaker's scrambling. He's a couple yards short of the first down. He goes to slide. Not one, but 2 Florida players go in there, hit him in the head. It's a 15-yard penalty at targeting. That gives them a free first down where they ultimately had the go-ahead score on that drive. You got to be better than that. I mean, you cannot make these crucial mental mistakes with the game on the line like that. You had a chance to win this football game. You were in control of it for most of the game, and Billy Napier and the Florida coaching staff, once again, they let one slip away, and things are not looking good in Gainesville for Billy Napier. Again, back-to-back losing seasons. We'll see what they do in the offseason, but things not looking great for Billy out there and the Florida Gators. Okay, want to take a look now after the regular season where everyone in the SEC sits. And, you know, the last time I was up here over the summer, I gave a prediction of my projected order of finish in the SEC. So many times in this industry, I think it's easy for people to be like, hey, I told you so, I was right about this. And they kind of, you know, the tapes get lost, if you will, when someone's wrong. I'm going to hold myself accountable today. I'm going to let you guys know right now, these are horrendous in terms of order of finish. I can tell you right now in the East, I got 2 of them right. Georgia at first, Vanderbilt in last. That's it. The West, not much better. So in the West, over the summer, I had LSU at 1, Bama at 2. That didn't hit. Alabama finishes first. Ole Miss finishes second. LSU actually comes in at 3rd. The one I did get right, I did have Texas A&M finishing 4th. That's it. That's it in the West. I actually had Arkansas finishing 5th in the SEC West. And a lot of people had them last, but my thought process was kind of, hey, look, KJ Jefferson was hurt a lot in 2022. Sam Pittman, when he had a healthy team, he showed a lot of promise in 2021. I think maybe he can get back to that because I didn't think Auburn and Mississippi State were going to be very good, and they're not, but Arkansas just a little bit worse. They actually finish in in dead last in the SEC West because of the tiebreaker. Mississippi State beat them head-to-head. I had State dead last. Was pretty close on that. I had Auburn 6th. They finished 5th. In the East, here's where everything actually finished. Obviously, Georgia number 1. Missouri, who was probably the surprise of the league this year, they finished 2nd in the SEC East, 6-2 on the year, followed by Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, who I had it too. I mentioned it just a couple minutes ago that I thought that if Spencer Rattler could avoid turnovers, they could have a solid season. He did for the most part. That offensive line was way too bad. They finished 5th, and it was a down year for Shane Beamer. It looked like last year, back half of the year, he was really turning things around. He took a step back this year. They finished 5-7. Kentucky, 3-5 in the SEC, now 7-5 overall, but really tough year for Mark Stoops. I mentioned Devin Leary not playing well, and then, of course, the Vanderbilt Commodores, 0-8 on the SEC season, just 2-10 overall, but that's kind of the norm. So that's kind of the SEC recap for the final regular season weekend of the year. Where things finish, my terrible SEC preseason projections. We're going to take a quick timeout. We're going to continue college football, but look, we went LSU, then we went SEC. Now we're going to go national college football. Denton Day from SiriusXM College Football. He's going to join us next on the other side of this break here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Over the next few days, this weekend, tailgate, you're like, I'm done with the kitchen, cleaning dishes. Let's get some catering. Let's go get a sandwich. Jersey Mike's needs to be your spot. Highway 30 in Gonzales, near the new Heritage Shopping Center. Look, stop on in for lunch. Grab one of their awesome sandwiches. The original Italian, I tell you about, it's their best seller. It's what I had last week when I was in there. Ham, prosciutto, capicola, salami, pepperoni, all with that provolone on fresh baked bread. They bake every single morning. Also, their hot sandwiches are fantastic. The bacon ranch chicken cheesesteak rocks. It's awesome. Order that chicken. They put it on the skillet right then. Warm it up. Put the cheese over the top of it. Good stuff over there at Jersey Mike's. And remember them for all your catering in the future. If you're feeding the office, feeding a birthday party, feeding a tailgate party, Jersey Mike's can make it happen for you. And Hunt Palmer Shows Palmer Show listeners get 20% off at Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales. That's Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
I'm Tom Granick with Go Martin, Wardo's Po' Boys in Natchez, Mississippi. On behalf of the Granick family, we invite you to run, walk, or stroll in the second annual Rudolph Roll. Held on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, this holiday event will kick off at 8 a.m. on December 9th and will include a 10K, 5K, and 1 mile kids fun run. Along with the race, there will be live music, drinks, and of course, po' boys. We're looking forward to an even bigger party this year. For more information, please check out the link on Wardo's Facebook page or scan the QR code. Hope to see y'all there.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We're recapping LSU, Texas A&M, and Saints Falcons. Look forward to seeing you back here Monday after the holiday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into the Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, filling in for an absent Mr. Hunt Palmer. He will be back tomorrow. Look, we just wrapped up the final regular season weekend of college football, and who better to talk to about that than Denton Day of Sirius XM's College Football Overtime. Denton, how are you today?
Taylor, what's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on here. It was a great final week of the regular season.
Yeah, it was rivalry weekend, if you will. And look, no game, at least postseason aspiration-wise, meant more than the big game, Ohio State and Michigan. What were your thoughts on that one? Did it go kind of how you expected, or were there some surprises for you?
You know, I did think it would be a bit closer. I was foolish enough for the third year in a row to bet on Ohio State, thinking that the result would be different. So that's silly on my end. But you know, once the game was playing out, the holes of each team were kind of on display. And for Ohio State this entire season, the biggest question mark has been quarterback, Kyle McCord. What is he going to do against a big-time opponent? And, you know, the phrase big-time opponent was really just Michigan. Yeah, Penn State is a big opponent, yes. And Notre Dame's a big opponent, yes. But the question is, could Kyle McCord play well against Michigan? And I didn't think he necessarily played terrible, but the turnover late in the game, you know, kind of fading away, pressure in the pocket, doesn't get enough oomph on it, enough juice on it to Marvin Harrison. Michigan picks it off, and that really was the game. We'd seen them go on game-winning drives before, but it was just that one play, and it was over. Obviously, no Jim Harbaugh this time. I do think there's a little bit of irony in that Jim Harbaugh's not there, and it still didn't really make it that big of a difference. So Michigan's really, really good. There were some question marks about them, and I would say all those questions have been answered this year.
Well, it looks like we, between the two of us, went 0-2 for betting on Ohio State. I did it as well. Look, I'm glad you mentioned Kyle McCord there. He hasn't necessarily been bad this year. It just seems like something's missing. You know, he's not having the same type of success with the eye-popping numbers, you will, that Ryan Day's had with some of his other quarterbacks. What have you kind of made from his play this year?
You know, he doesn't have the it factor. And the it factor is such a weird thing. Like, what does it really mean? You don't really know how to comprehend it. You just know when someone doesn't have it. And he's a fine quarterback, but he's not a win you a game on the road in Michigan kind of quarterback. And we've been so used to having guys at Ohio State be that kind of caliber quarterback. So when they don't have one, it does seem to be very, very glaring. I think he does a lot of good things really well. I mean, some of the tight window stuff is maybe just a little off, but that's going to happen in college. You know, eventually the more reps you'll get more accurate. I think he's good. I just don't think he's the level that you need if you're Ohio State to beat a Michigan and then to get to the college football playoff. You know, I still think there's a little bit of hope for Ohio State to get into the top 4. If they get there, I just don't know if Kyle McCord is going to be able to win them a game against Georgia, Michigan again, or whoever they end up matching up if that scenario does arise.
Speaking of not being able to beat big-time teams, the Iron Bowl on Saturday night left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths unless you were an Alabama fan. What were your thoughts on that one?
I mean, I'm really happy for Jalen Milroe. There's been so much criticism. You know, it's almost like him and Kyle McCord have been very similar in that there's been a lot of criticism throughout the entire season with those two guys, but the difference is when you had to have it, Jalen Milroe delivered. I mean, the fact that it was on the 10 years anniversary of the kick six that Alabama gets a 4th and 31 on a 4th and goal. It's just that game is magical at times. You know, we've seen the share of blowouts, of course, but that game is magical. Alabama gets one, and I'm more than anything, again, I'm happy for Jalen Milroe because I do love it when guys that have been criticized step up and prove that they are actually worth all the hype. So I couldn't be more ecstatic for him. I don't think Alabama has a chance against Georgia because I think Georgia's awesome, but Jalen Milroe delivering when he needed to was great.
Denton Day here with us, SiriusXM College Football. Denton, okay, look, Michigan beats Ohio State. Alabama keeps their playoff hopes alive. As far as the college football playoff projection, there's about 6 or 7 teams right now that are still alive heading into conference championship weekend. Let me get your kind of read on what you think is going to happen as far as which of those Final Four teams get in.
I think the biggest one that I've been wrestling with is Florida State, and I made some of their fans angry this weekend, and that's fine. But it's such a unique situation that they're in because they're unbeaten, and if they beat Louisville, they will be 13-0, and it seems so weird for a Power 5 school to be unbeaten and not get into the college football playoff. But it's impossible to look past the fact that their offense was not as good this weekend against Florida, and it's not going to be as good this weekend because there's no Jordan Travis. And Jordan Travis isn't going to magically walk back through those through the doors and say, you know what, coach, I'm ready to go. Put me in quarterback one. So that's such a weird spot for them to be. And I think that really is going to impact what we're going to see on the final rankings. Like, I feel really good about Georgia now. My hunch is that they're going to beat Alabama, and it might be a pretty comfortable victory. I love Oregon. The way that they've been playing since Washington's game has been incredibly impressive, and I think Bo Nix is right there with your guy and Jaden Daniels as being a Heisman contender. They're neck and neck at this point, and Bo Nix, of course, has next week to kind of essentially win the award. So I love those two schools. I really want to see Texas in there. I just think it would be fun. You know, that fan base has been put through absolute torture for the past 10 years. I just love to see them get in there. I think Quinn Ewers is a really fun quarterback to watch. So those 3 teams I want to get in. Whoever fills the 4th spot, whether it is Florida State or Alabama potentially, if Ohio State slithers their way in there, maybe it's Washington. Whoever it is that fills the 4th spot is what it is. But I think those 3 teams, Michigan, Georgia, and Oregon, those are the teams I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, and I agree with you, especially on the Texas thing. There's been a lot of talk about, well, if Alabama, they run the table, they'll beat Georgia, 2 SEC teams could get in, and Texas would get left out. I understand it was early in the year, but shouldn't head-to-head matchup matter at least a little bit?
It should, but if I wanted to play devil's advocate, I don't think you'll find a better win if Alabama beats Georgia. It'd be one thing if Alabama was, with all due respect, like beating Kentucky in the SEC championship, right? But the fact that Georgia is on this absolute tear, I do think beating Georgia, albeit at a neutral site, would be enough to at least make some members of the committee say, you know what, the head-to-head was so early. They're a much better team now. We like Alabama more. But I'm with you. I think what's the point of playing these games if they're not going to matter? But I think there's a certain selection of the committee that's going to say if they beat Georgia, Alabama's in.
Speaking of Alabama, I want to stick with the SEC real quick. Yesterday, 2 different coaching hires were announced. Texas A&M hiring Mike Elko away from Duke, and then Mississippi State announcing that they're going to hire Jeff Lebby. What are your thoughts on both of those hires?
Well, the Texas A&M thing was such a fascinating roller coaster because when I was on air on Saturday, at the start of the show, which we started a little after 11, Mark Stoops was Texas A&M's head coach. And then by about 11:30, Mark Stoops was no longer Texas A&M's head coach. And then by 12 midnight, he had put out a tweet saying that he is no longer Texas A&M's head. Like, that whole thing was fascinating. Mike Elko, I think, is the right choice. He was my candidate from the jump for Texas A&M. It just felt like a natural progression. And what he's been able to do at Duke that doesn't have nearly the amount of resources that Texas A&M has, I think they got their guy. I'd be pretty confident that in the next couple of years, Texas A&M will be maybe not right where they want to be, but they'll be trending in the direction of getting to where they want to be. And as far as Mississippi State goes, personally, I was ecstatic because that means with Lebby going there that Jamie Chadwell, who coaches at my alma mater, Liberty, is not going to go there. And I want to keep Jamie Chadwell in the great city of Lynchburg as long as humanly possible. So I was over the moon when Mississippi State had somebody other than Jamie Chadwell as their head coach.
Yeah, if I'm a Mississippi State fan this morning, I better hear that Jamie Chadwell turned to Mississippi State down. This is a guy, you mentioned what he's doing at Liberty. He was great at Coastal Carolina, and what you got to kind of look at is like Grayson McCall's drop-off since Jamie Chadwell is no longer his head coach. I mean, I think that's as big of a tell as anything that Jamie Chadwell can flat out coach football. Denton, before I get you out of here, I got to ask about it because folks in Baton Rouge have been watching this race so tightly for 3 or 4 weeks now. It's Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, kind of seem like they are both the front runners for the Heisman Trophy right now. What do you think happens, and who do you think wins that award?
If the season ended today, it would be Jaden Daniels. If Oregon gets to the college football playoff, it's going to be Bo Nix. Because I don't see a scenario where Oregon beats Washington and Bo Nix doesn't have a great game. Like, I don't see like the Oregon defense just running amok. I don't see them rushing for 400 yards or anything of that nature. If they beat Washington, it's going to be because of Bo Nix, and if he gets that, I think that's going to get Bo Nix the Heisman Trophy. So I do ultimately think that Bo Nix is going to win it, but man, Jaden Daniels has had an absolute wonder of a season. It's been so much fun to watch him this year.
Denton Day, SiriusXM College Football Overtime. Denton, before you get out of here, tell folks where they can hear more of you.
Yeah, you can hear me. We're on Friday and Saturday this weekend because of championship weekend. So it's on SiriusXM Channel 84. We're following the Pac-12 championship on Friday and then following the SEC championship, or not the Big Ten championship on Saturday.
Denton Day, thank you so much for hopping on with me today, man.
Yep, appreciate it. Be well.
That was Denton Day, SiriusXM's College Football Overtime. I kind of agree with him on the Bo Nix thing. It's unfortunate Jaden should win the award, but you know, they say first impressions matter. In the Heisman Trophy, the last impression is the most important, and I agree with him. I don't see a way Oregon wins that game and Bo Nix doesn't win the Heisman unless it's one of those 17-10, 14-10 type of games and Oregon pulls it off. Then maybe that's the case. Obviously, Jaden should win it. And speaking of Tigers that should win postseason awards, I got beef with a lot of these awards. We're going to talk about the Biletnikoff Award and why I think it's absolutely atrocious if Malik Nabers does not win this award. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, champion of Louisiana. Help out the state in terms of tourism with their the Marucci World Series. They help out the state in terms of attracting and acquiring talent to work here in their baseball performance lab. Started right here in the capital city, carving out bats in the backyard. Now they're among the leaders in baseball equipment and performance. Fantastic story right here in the capital city of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana like Marucci Sports, go nominate them at lwcc.com so that they can tell their story and we can help them right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Could be a business, could be a nonprofit, could be a person. But Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the country.
On Tuesdays, OTB. We'll continue to break down championship week as all the latest news out of LSU and their potential bowl destinations, college football playoff talk as well, plus brand new OTB mailbag and Nick Underhill. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome into the last segment of hour number 1 on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp filling in for an absent Mr. Hunt Palmer, who will be back tomorrow. Look, the entire first hour, we have talked to nothing but college football. I opened the show recapping LSU Texas A&M. Then we kind of broke down the SEC slate as a whole. If you just missed it, last segment, Denton Day, SiriusXM College Football. He joined me to kind of look at college football from a national scale. And that's what I want to do here, but with an LSU twist, because, look, I got a real issue with Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's the runaway winner of the Biletnikoff Award, which, unfortunately, I think he's going to be. I get it. Everyone wants to talk about the Heisman Trophy, but, look, I'm done with that. We know the numbers. Jaden Daniels should be the winner. It's not particularly close, and you hear a lot of people now kind of getting on the Jaden hype train. The issue I have with the Biletnikoff is not that Nabers is significantly better than Marvin Harrison Jr. It's the fact that no one's talking about Malik Nabers for this award. And when you look at the numbers side by side, it's just that just should not be the case. And so many times when you bring up Malik Nabers for this award, people are like, well, why are you hating on Marvin Harrison Jr.? He's a great player in his own right. He is. I'm not hating on Marvin Harrison Jr. But the numbers are what they are. Wherever you want to try to spin this argument, that does not change the facts of this argument. Let's look at Marvin Harrison Jr. Really solid season. 67 receptions, 1,211 yards, 14 touchdowns, 18.1 yards per reception. Malik Nabers, 86 receptions, 1,546 yards, 14 touchdowns, and again, 18 yards per catch. So the exact same yards per catch, the exact same touchdowns. Malik Nabers has 19 more receptions and over 300 yards more receiving. What else do we need to look at? And if you say, okay, well, those are raw numbers, fine. Let's not look at the good. Let's look at the bad. Let's look at their worst games of the year. Because they both had really good games this past weekend. Marvin Harrison in a loss. He had 5 for 118 and a touchdown. Malik Nabers just a little bit better. 6 for 122 and 2 touchdowns. But let's look at it and say, what were their worst games of the year? Marvin Harrison Jr. has had 4 games this season with less than 35 yards receiving. 4 games less than 35 yards receiving. Now, he's had some big ones mixed in there as well. Malik Nabers' worst game was the first game of the year against Florida State. 6 receptions for 67 yards. Just think about that real quick. And it's not that, he's playing a cupcake. Florida State, really good team. They have a really good chance of making the college football playoff. 6 receptions for 67 yards. So Malik Nabers has no games under 65 yards receiving. Marvin Harrison Jr. has 4 games under 35 yards receiving. What are we doing? Why is he the only one being mentioned for this award? I got a couple theories. I think people don't want to admit when they're wrong. There's a lot of preseason hype against Marvin Harrison Jr. Also, Malik Nabers' dad is not an NFL Hall of Famer. And I get it. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great player in his own right. The name plays a factor. It has to play a factor. It's something you just can't ignore. But anyways, Malik Nabers should win the Biletnikoff Award. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll be back with more right after this. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. For the third time since 2019, the Panthers have made a mid-season head coaching change. 1-10 Carolina, well on its way to a 6th consecutive losing season, fired Frank Reich. Panthers offense has been stagnant. Rookie quarterback Bryce Young has struggled. And only one way to describe Carolina for unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
It's ugly for the Carolina Panthers. I mean, the whole Bryce Young situation, now you're adding another layer of dysfunction around him while he's continuing to try to develop and live up to being the number 1 overall pick.
Carolina also fired assistant head coach, running backs coach Deuce Staley, and quarterbacks coach Josh McCown. Special teams coordinator Chris Tabor takes over as Panthers interim coach. Giants GM Joe Shane says the team still looks at injured quarterback Daniel Jones as their starter when he's healthy. They will, however, have to address the QB position in some capacity due to the uncertainty of when he'll return from that knee injury. An MRI showed Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield did not suffer any fractures or major structural damage to his injured right ankle. The Raiders waiving veteran corner Marcus Peters a day after his benching. Monday Night Football, Vikings-Bears, 8 Eastern, ESPN.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Close. It's the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp filling in for an absent Mr. Hunt Palmer. He will be back tomorrow. But for the next hour, you got me. We are hanging out here. Taylor Sharp here, hosting for Hunt. We got Jacob Beck on audio, Casey Gaines on video. And if you hung out with us in the first hour, it was good vibes. We got the recap an LSU victory over Texas A&M, which is always fun to laugh at our little brothers down the street. We recapped SEC football as a whole. We had Denton Day on talking college football. We even talked about why Malik Nabers really should be the runaway favorite for the Biletnikoff Award, even though he is not. This is the part of the show that I've been trying to put off for as long as I can. Because this hour is not going to be good vibes, because this hour we are going to talk about the New Orleans Saints. I'm sure most of you by now have watched it. The Saints yesterday, they lose to the Atlanta Falcons 24-15. Look, it was the case of the Saints making plays, but failing to capitalize on them. And since I don't want to go too dark to start this hour, let's look at the defense a little bit first, because that was probably the brighter spot of the two yesterday. Overall, it wasn't a terrible game. I mean, you forced Desmond Ridder into 2 turnovers. Tyrann Mathieu with both of those interceptions, by the way. You limited the passing game for the most part. Your downfall was your ability to stop the run. You gave up 228 yards rushing to the Atlanta Falcons. And top to bottom, this has been a Saints defense this year that's been pretty solid in both the run and pass. So that was kind of outside the norm for this team. Now, why was that such a big deal? Well, it's really hard to win when you can't stop the run and you're playing from behind. Well, why were they playing from behind, you may ask? Well, now's where we get into the offense. It has gone from bad to worse for the New Orleans Saints. Look, they moved the ball well most of the game. 444 yards of offense for the New Orleans Saints. And you're like, okay, that's pretty good. What happened? 0 touchdowns. That's what happened. The play calling is very bad in the red zone, but it's not just the play calling. It's everything. Your quarterback is one of the worst in the entire NFL in terms of red zone efficiency. You're not getting the effort you should in the red zone. And then, of course, the play calling. It's a cluster of bad things that makes an even worse product to watch. I thought Derek Carr actually threw the deep ball pretty well at the early parts of this game. He hit Chris Olave down the left sideline for about a 45, 50-yarder. And, I mean, he threaded the needle on that one, got it just over the Atlanta Falcons defender. Olave caught it. Olave had a really nice game until he went out with a concussion. But you get inside the red zone, and not only are you not able to score, your entire offense changes. And it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, you're relying on Taysom Hill too much. They're not. And let's look at their first drive of the game. Incomplete on first down, incomplete on second down. So what do you do on 3rd and goal from about the 6? You throw a fade to A.T. Perry. First off, I don't care if the defender's jamming you or you think you're about to get a penalty called on you. Never, under any circumstances, stop in the middle of your route and just think the ball's not coming to you, because the ball did come to you. But regardless, take A.T. Perry's effort out. Take the Atlanta Falcons defense out. Why are you throwing the ball to a mid-round rookie draft pick who's barely played any football? That's not a shot at A.T. Perry. He's looked good at times. He has the ability to have a nice career in New Orleans. But you have Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, who's been your only bright spot in the red zone. Chris Olave is still in the game at that time. Jawan Johnson's been pretty good in the red zone so far this year. Why are you going to A.T. Perry on 3rd and goal? I mean, it looked like the Saints were going to take this game over very early. They go down the field, and on that drive, look, they missed it. They couldn't punch it in the end zone on their opening drive, but they did get a field goal. So they go 3-0. Then you get a big 4th down stop. Atlanta goes for it on about the Saints 45, which was a terrible play call, by the way. You do a little outside zone stretch, if you will, with Bijan Robinson, and you got 2 Atlanta Falcons offensive linemen to block 3 Saints defenders. So even if everything goes perfect on that play, it's likely not going to be a good outcome. So the Saints stuff them there. They go right back down the field. They're inside the red zone again. And you're like, okay, you may have failed to score on your opening drive. You get a touchdown here. It's 10-0. And you have all the momentum in this game. What happens? Derek Carr drops back. He predetermined where he was going to go with the football. He paid no attention to the high safety. Jesse Bates jumped the route, who's been a really solid signing for those guys, and he took it about 95 yards for a touchdown. All of a sudden, instead of being up 10-0, 14-0 possibly like you should have been, you're in a 7-3 hole. It was really something that the Saints were never able to overcome. I mean, it was a backbreaker. It is what it was. And after that, it was the same old, same old. The Saints, in their last 8 possessions of the game, each time at least reached the Falcons' 35-yard line and failed to score a single touchdown. That's 5 red zone trips. I mentioned Derek Carr's red zone blunders. Again, Taysom Hill, he's kind of been your brightest spot, if you will, inside the red zone. He fumbled. He had a carry for about 6 or 7 yards. It wasn't a bad run, and then he fumbles. And when Taysom fumbled, you're like, okay, this is one of those games where just nothing's going right. And I get it. Blake Grupe missed his last field goal, but, I mean, you lose by 9. The grand scheme of things, that field goal doesn't really matter. He went 5 for 6. He actually kept you in this game. And I know he's been shaky. A lot of fans have been like, hey, did you make the wrong decision choosing him over a Will Lutz? He was fine in that game. For the first time in a while, Blake Grupe was not an issue. And the Saints just continue, for whatever reason, to not be able to capitalize when they're inside the red zone. And honestly, goal to go inside the 10, it's even worse. It's even worse. Play calling's bad. Effort's bad. Your quarterback is awful in the red zone. And that's not just the Saints thing. You can say, well, Derek Carr, he's playing with Pete Carmichael, who's not a great offensive coordinator. I get it, but he was bad in Oakland and Vegas in the red zone. Derek Carr's been in the NFL for 10 years now. This has been a recurring issue. At this point in your career, you are what you are inside the red zone. What do they say? You are what your record says you are. Derek Carr is what his record says he is. And look, I'll admit it. I was completely wrong on this signing. I was over the moon when the New Orleans Saints signed Derek Carr. And look, most of you know me. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I watch the New Orleans Saints every Sunday. I pull for the Saints as long as they're not playing the Cowboys. This is a team I watch a lot. And I was like, man, you're getting an upgrade at quarterback. Chris Olave's here. Michael Thomas is back, who, once again, on IR. That's a different topic for a different time. I'm out on Derek Carr. I mean, if you listen to OTB, you listen to me all offseason, champion this hire, go to bat for Derek Carr time and time again when the others doubted him. I'm out. I've been Derek Carr's biggest cheerleader all season long. I can't do it. He's not getting any better. As a matter of fact, he might be getting worse. At this point last season, Andy Dalton had more touchdowns, less interceptions, and a better completion percentage. You were better off a year ago with Andy Dalton than you are now with Derek Carr, and I don't think anyone would argue Derek Carr's got better weapons than Andy Dalton had last year. Dalton had a rookie, Chris Olave, who was still adjusting to the NFL. He didn't have Michael Thomas for basically the entire season outside the first 3 games, which he didn't play much in anyways. Kamara, he struggled to stay on the field at times last year. You got solid running backs. You got Taysom Hill, who, still probably the best weapon in the NFL in terms of versatility. You got the receivers there. Rashid Shaheed's been really good when you're able to get him the ball. And Derek Carr can't do it. I cannot, in good conscience, continue to make excuses for Derek Carr. I've blamed Pete Carmichael. I've blamed Dennis Allen. I blame the receivers. I'm like, well, Michael Thomas is who he is. You can't rely on him. He can't stay on the field. At some point, Derek Carr is going to have to look in the mirror. And then at the end of the game, he goes up to Jesse Bates and has the audacity to applaud Jesse Bates and pat him on the back and say, hey, good job intercepting my pass at the goal line where I wasn't reading the coverage. You took it 95 yards. You scored. You took over the momentum of the game. We lost the game in part because of that play, but hey, good on you. We're playing a division rival, a team that we hate, a team that we're supposed to compete against. It's fine. I got a $40 million contract. I'll still be here next year. I'm getting some guaranteed money regardless of what happens. And Derek Carr in his career has been known as a good leader. It's bad leadership right now in New Orleans. It's not just a Mickey Loomis. Look, Dennis Allen's taken a lot of heat, rightfully so, Pete Carmichael, but it's Derek Carr as well. You got to be a leader on that field. This is a 10-year NFL veteran. And again, a guy that I've went to bat for a lot of times. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And look, I'm done with the New Orleans Saints until further notice. Again, I'm going to watch them. They still have a shot to win this division. We'll talk about it a little bit more next segment. They still have a shot to win this division. And you could say, well, their schedule lightens up. They have a tougher game next week, but after that, their schedule lightens up. Does it? Is there a light part of the schedule for this New Orleans Saints teams? Let's look at some of the guys they've lost to. You lost to Joshua Dobbs. You've lost to Desmond Ridder. You've lost to Baker Mayfield, who's had a nice season, but nobody's gonna claim that Baker Mayfield's a top-tier NFL quarterback. I'm a bigger Mayfield fan than anybody in this room. I'll never claim that he's a top-tier NFL quarterback. Desmond Ridder's been benched. Now he's back out. You lose to him. You lose to Joshua Dobbs, who's had a nice season, but he's a career backup as well. And then you play the Chicago Bears. Tyson Bagent has the ball in the fourth quarter, tie game with a chance to take the lead. You pulled out a 7-point victory against Tyson Bagent. Congratulations to you. But is there an easy part of this schedule? I mean, look at those quarterbacks they played. They're all bottom-tier quarterbacks. You lost to 4 of them. Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers have won 1 game this year. You barely won that game. Ryan Tannehill got benched. You won that game against the Tennessee Titans by 1 point. Is there an easy part of the schedule for the New Orleans Saints? If there is, I haven't seen it. Look, we're going to go to break. We're going to continue talking New Orleans Saints, but we're going to bring on Ross Jackson of the Locked On Saints podcast. He's going to join me. I want to get a different perspective on this thing because right now, as far as my perspective goes, it's not looking too good. But we'll hear from Ross right after this here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric. Certified Generac generator dealer. Not just that, premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux been running the company for 40 years. Listen up, listeners of the Hunt Palmer Show. if you give Boudreaux's Electric a call, I'm going to give you the phone number here in a second, but if you call them between now and Christmas and agree to have a generator installed at your home or your business, they're going to give you a deal. I'm just telling you. So give them a call. Tell them you heard about it on the Hunt Palmer Show. There are savings to be had between now and Christmas. So you got a month, but give them a call. That number, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. Protect yourself from power outages, especially during storm season, with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. Give them a call. That number one more time, 225-300-9389.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life.
Haniger joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Taylor Sharp here, filling in for a absent Mr. Hunt Palmer. He'll be back tomorrow, but we're hanging out with you for the next 45 minutes or so. And look, I just went on a mini rant about the New Orleans Saints, but I wanted to get a different perspective on things. And to do that, I want to bring on Ross Jackson of the Locked On Saints podcast. Ross, how are you today?
Hey, buddy, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on, man. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, you had a good Thanksgiving?
Oh, wonderful, and I appreciate you asking. Yeah, everything's good with the family. It was nice to see everybody, everything like that. I hope the same for you.
Yeah, I had a good Thanksgiving as well, but Ross, I'm sure that most Saints fans that had a good Thanksgiving, a lot of the holiday season had a little damper put on it by the performance yesterday. Look, I'm just going to come out. I mean, it's a broad question, but why is the Saints offense so bad in the red zone?
Yeah, it's such a hard question to answer, not because the question is, one that we shouldn't be able to answer or anything like that. It's just simply that, like, it's always something new, it feels like, whether it's because the team isn't able to run in the red zone and they figured out a way to mitigate that, namely with Taysom Hill and then surprise, Alvin Kamara. And then coming out of that, then all of a sudden now this past game, you come up empty in the red zone a couple of times due to turnovers, penalties, things like that, which have been issues for them, particularly penalties all throughout the season so far. So it's hard to pin down one specific thing. I think the biggest issue is that just as a whole, it just seems like they don't really kind of have a plan on how to properly operate, or at least an executable plan, or haven't been able to execute whatever that plan is supposed to be. Once they get to that area of the field, it's been a big time issue with them so far throughout the season, with the exception of when Taysom Hill is out there and a big part of what they do. He was a big part of what they did yesterday for a little while. And then he had the fumble, and then they kind of ran away from him, which I thought was a little premature and a little bit reactionary in a way that they didn't need to be, because he was effectively their offense throughout most of this game. So it was a bit disappointing to sort of see the way that this one all performed, and that they still continue to have these red zone issues and the same issues that have plagued them all season, even after following the bye week.
Look, Ross, obviously it can't be turned around completely, at least not, to anything tops of the league. But is there anything this offense can do to show any signs of life in that red zone? I know you mentioned Taysom, but I mean, outside of him, who can this team go to inside the red area?
Alvin Kamara. I mean, I think he's got to be the guy for this team right now, especially if, Michael Thomas is gone for the next 3 games at least, right? He's on injured reserve. Chris Olave, we'll see how quickly he can come out of what I assume will be, concussion protocol for him. Rashid Shaheed's unlikely to be available this weekend, so you're going to be going forward with wide receivers like Lynn Bowden and A.T. Perry, the rookie, and Keith Kirkwood, guys that haven't really been given much opportunity to be much more than blockers out on the field. Like, they've kind of been relegated to that role. And so you saw them go up there and, make some plays late in the game when they were called upon yesterday, or at least help move the football. But I think right now the guy you have to look at is Alvin Kamara, and I'm sure that he would be more than happy to shoulder that burden and is ready to do that. But I think that that's got to be the identity of this team moving forward, is that basically this is Alvin Kamara's team, which is kind of what it should have been once he came back from suspension anyway. But now they're at a point where they almost have no choice, and that's going to be really tough sledding for Alvin Kamara and for the New Orleans Saints, because if they're having to do that based upon who's available or who's not available, I mean, that makes the job pretty much a little easy for the opposing defenses, right? They know where the ball is going. So just too late, I think you can say, for a good bit of this New Orleans Saints season so far. And I agree with you. You're not really going to turn it all around, but I do think that finding a new path is what this team is going to have to do.
Ross, we know the struggles on offense. I thought as far as the passing game went, the defense was okay for most of the game. They picked off Desmond Ridder twice, thanks to Tyrann Mathieu, but they really struggled to stop the run. They gave up over 200 yards rushing against Atlanta, and I understand the Falcons have some talented backs with Bijan, Cordero Patterson, and Tyler Algier, but how concerning is that the Falcons were kind of able to run the ball at will against you?
Yeah, I think it's very concerning, especially considering it's the 3rd straight game in which the New Orleans Saints have given up over 200 rushing yards to the Atlanta Falcons, right? I mean, that's the big thing you can look at, is that not only is that something that happened in that game, but last year, they had 2 games against them, and the Atlanta Falcons ran for over 200 yards in each of those games, and that was before Bijan Robinson wasn't part of the equation. And so I think you have to be concerned about that, and you have to be concerned about the fact that this is a team that, on the offensive side, is not putting up points to the greatest extent, or to the extent at which the run game is beating you, which doesn't happen in today's NFL. Usually the way that the phrase goes is that you pass to score points and then you run to win the game, right, to put it away. That's what the Atlanta Falcons had the ability to do in this game. And so I think that's probably the biggest concern, and something that's going to need to be seriously addressed, along with the continuing mobile quarterback problems that this defense continues to have over the course of the offseason, because I don't know how you fix that with 6 games left here in the year. It's a little bit too late to be talking about massive fixes at this point, things that should have been able to be adjusted, fixed, changed, addressed much earlier this season.
Yeah, look, Ross, the coaching staff has taken a lot of flack this year, and a lot of it deservedly so. When Dennis Allen sits in his office chair today, how hot do you think his seat will be?
I don't think it's going to be very hot. I'll be honest with you. I think that should be a part of the conversation, and I think that looking at revamping the coaching staff is a big thing that the New Orleans Saints need to seriously look at doing over the course of this offseason if they want to be able to succeed with the talent that they have while they still have it, because it's going to be very hard to keep guys around playing like you played for the past, I'll call it 2 seasons now. But I think when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, one of the things that they've always done, for better or for worse, is that they're very loyal. And they really enjoy continuity. They really enjoy cohesion. And my take on that, and this might just be me, and this might just be the reactionary, I might be being overly reactionary to, what was a big loss yesterday. But when I look at it, the idea of being cohesive, the idea of having continuity made a lot of sense when you were successful. Right now, you're not successful. And so if you want cohesion and you want continuity, what are you signing yourself up for maintaining other than mediocrity? And I think that's the big concern for me when it comes to this New Orleans Saints offseason. It should be a very busy offseason for New Orleans, but I don't know necessarily that a change at head coach is something that's going to happen. And if the New Orleans Saints don't do that, then that means they have to make changes elsewhere in order to give Dennis Allen what he needs over on the offensive side while he revamps the defense. I mean, either way, you're going to have to see some sizable changes one way or another over the course of this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned that about, what are you signing yourself up for as far as cohesion? Alvin Kamara, his comments, he was saying, yeah, there's not an issue between players, but, there might be an issue in the locker room, kind of hinting at, the coaching staff. And while Dennis Allen, may not go anywhere, do you think there will be any sort of staff changes in the offseason?
Yeah, I think there has to be. I don't think there's any way that you move forward with the offensive coaching staff that you have. I think that there are members of that coaching staff that I can see sticking around. There's really, really good guys that are a part of that, the good coaches that are a part of that from the position groups and things like that. Ronald Curry, Clancy Burrow, and all these guys and others. But, you look at the offensive line's been a big issue for New Orleans this season. Play calling's been a big issue for New Orleans this season. You have to look at where the weak points have been so far, not just this year, but even going back to last year as well, and then start to look at how you can, fix, adjust, make changes, whatever it might be. And those changes don't necessarily have to mean a change out of the human being, the person, the coach, but certainly you have to change the perspective or at least the philosophy of how they're approaching the game. But I do think that an offensive coordinator change and an offensive coordinator search is kind of a must for this New Orleans Saints team over the course of this offseason, because that's been a big thorn in their side all throughout the year so far.
Ross Jackson here with us, Locked On Saints podcast. Ross, as far as what the Saints have left in the season, they're 5-6 right now. They're second place in the NFC South behind the Atlanta Falcons. What's their path forward? I mean, what do you think this team's chances are of actually making the playoffs?
I guess I'll say that their chances are still pretty favorable. I mean, percentage-wise, I guess you call it 66%. After losing that game, their playoff chances dropped to 33% because now they have 2 losses within their division. But I think the thing that's such a challenge with it all is that even if you look at the percentages and things like that, you can find sort of the sliver of hope. You can find the silver lining that says, hey, this team can still make the playoffs. But when we talk about the reasons why that silver lining could be there, we're going to be talking about circumstances around the team, not the team itself. We're going to be talking about a bad division. We're going to be talking about how nobody seems to want to win that division, an easy schedule beyond this Lions game that's upcoming this weekend. Those things aren't really about the New Orleans Saints, right? Those are things that are about their circumstances moving forward. So their path forward is to take advantage of those circumstances and try to find their way into the playoffs. But that means that they have to get some things right that they haven't been able to get right so far this season on a consistent basis. We're seeing the same thing this year that we saw last year. Win a game, lose 2 games, win 2 games, lose 2 games, not able to really put together any momentum. And I think that's a part of why you see so much frustration, not only in the fan base, but that frustration is absolutely there when it comes to the organization as well, who believes that team should be performing, that they themselves should be performing better. So I think if I'm giving it chances, I'll give it a 33% chance. That's what the odds are that they make the postseason right now. But they've got a lot to fix on the way if they want to turn that into 100%.
Ross, I'm glad you mentioned the easy quote unquote schedule that they have moving forward. I just talked about that last segment, and I agree. On paper, I should say, the schedule should be easier moving forward after the Lions game. But, I mean, when you look back and you see some of the quarterbacks that the Saints have already lost to, what do you kind of think this team's record's going to be at the end of the year? I mean, are there any easy games left?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging to kind of figure it out. They've got 6 games left. What this team tends to do is, like I mentioned, win 1 game, lose 2, win 2 games, lose 2. So at most, you're maybe looking at 3 more wins this season, if that continues to be the case, right? If they continue to do what they've done in terms of their rhythm so far, then that's where they end up. I don't know if that is where they end up. They can certainly also rip off 6 in a row and then surprise everybody and be 11-6 by the time that it's all said and done. But I don't think you hold your breath and expect that. I think you wait to be pleasantly surprised by that. So I think that regardless of what their schedule looks like, regardless of what the opponents on the other side look like, there is an any given Sunday aspect to every single game in the NFL, as we've seen across the league. But for this New Orleans Saints team, I think that the interesting thing about them is that despite the fact that they have the easier schedule, they have the winnable division, all these other things, they need to kind of be that any given Sunday team all of a sudden, which is very, very different confidence level wise from where we were going into this season in terms of our expectations of this team.
Ross, I think I've kept you long enough and probably depressed you more than you wanted to be. So I'm going to let you go. Ross Jackson, Locked on Saints podcast. Ross, thanks for hopping on with me.
Hey, anytime, bud. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
All righty. That was Ross Jackson, Locked on Saints podcast. Look, he's right, and I appreciate his optimism. It is a winnable division, but Saints haven't proved that they could win these games. I mean, they're 1-2 right now in the NFC South, and the one victory you have is against the 1-10 Carolina Panthers, which was a game that was probably a lot closer than it should have been. Look, we're going to continue the NFL talk here in the next segment, but we're gonna move on from the Saints. I want to be in a little bit of a better mood. We're going to look at the NFL standings as a whole. Maybe the biggest disappointment in the league, the biggest positive surprise in the league, and preview a little bit of Monday Night Football. We'll hit all that next here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins on the money line. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. They include spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the National Football League. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued in eligible bonus bet. It expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We're recapping LSU, Texas A&M, and Saints Falcons. Look forward to seeing you back here Monday after the holiday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tiger fans, be a part of the ultimate LSU experience on Sunday, December 3rd, when you finish on the 50-yard line at the Our Lady of the Lake Health Tiger 10K, which of course will be the 50-yard line of Tiger Stadium. Visit 1045ESPN.com today to register for a free pair of race entries, and for more information, visit Tiger10K.com.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show here for another 25 minutes or so. Taylor Sharp here with you, filling in for an absent Mr. Hunt Palmer. He will be back tomorrow, but you got me for the next half hour or so. Look, the first two segments of this second hour, we hit on the New Orleans Saints. It's been kind of doom and gloom around here in the 2 o'clock hour. So I want to kind of change things up a little bit. We're still going to talk professional football. Want to kind of look at the NFL as a whole, if you will, kind of look at each division, where things stand, maybe the biggest surprise, the biggest disappointment of the NFL season so far in terms of teams. I'll start with the biggest disappointment, because when you look at the standings in the AFC, and the AFC East in particular, you got the Miami Dolphins up there at the top at 8-3. And that's fine. I have no problem with Miami being at the top of the division. They've been a very good football team. I think Mike McDaniel has really transformed the offense in the NFL. He's been so creative with all of his play calls. We looked at that chart on OTB a few weeks ago, and it was like Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael was such an outlier because of how bad he was. Mike McDaniel was an outlier because of how good and how creative he was. So the Miami Dolphins, they deserve to be there. The issue I have, the biggest disappointment for me across the entire NFL, look, I get it, Cincinnati could be there, but, you know, they were stepping it up. They were on a little bit of a win streak before Burrow went down. Tennessee Titans are down, but they're going through a change at quarterback. I get it. The Denver Broncos, some people may say, are down. They're on a 5-game winning streak. However, I don't think Russell Wilson's that good of a quarterback. I didn't before he got to Denver. I didn't think he was that good before Sean Payton took over. Still don't. So that's not really that big of a surprise to me. The biggest disappointment is probably the Buffalo Bills. And if you watched the game yesterday evening, the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They continue to find ways to lose games. This is a talented team. A couple years ago, we were talking about Josh Allen possibly being a top 3 NFL quarterback. I mean, it was basically Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. I mean, some people were even saying Allen was ahead of Burrow. It's not the case. I mean, he continues to turn the ball over. He continues to make poor decisions. And it's not just that. They've been able to rely on that defense so often that even when Allen's making mistakes, even when their offense is not performing up to the standard that you expect, their defense is still able to keep them in football games. Their defense is giving up touchdowns and points in the most inopportune times all season long. And they're 6-6 right now in the season. There's no reason they should have lost that game to the Philadelphia Eagles last night. There's not. Now I get it. That's rich coming from a Cowboys fan. Obviously, I wanted Philadelphia to lose so Dallas could keep pace in the division. Either way, Buffalo had that game. They had it won. They had the lead going into halftime. Josh Allen actually played okay outside of that crucial interception, which, again, that's been kind of the norm for him this year. Jalen Hurts' final stats probably look a little bit better than maybe he played. He wasn't great in the first half. He stepped it up a little bit, but, I mean, you got to win that game. Tyler Bass, he misses 2 field goals inside of 40 yards. I get it. You're in the windy, rainy conditions up there in Philadelphia, but Jake Elliott didn't have a problem with it. And let's not act like you're sunny and 75 all year long. You play in Buffalo. It is snowy there almost half the NFL season. You're used to playing in the cold, the rain, the wind, all that. You continue to turn the ball over. Tyler Bass misses 2 kicks. And then on the other side of things, you couldn't cover Devontae Smith. And typically Buffalo's done a good job in years past of shutting down the top players for the opposing team's offense, whether it would have been a Jalen Hurts, an A.J. Brown, who had a decent game as well, a Devontae Smith. All of them had pretty good games. DeAndre Swift had a decent game on the ground as well. His numbers aren't going to jump out at you, but he was still very efficient. The Buffalo Bills, to me, have to be the biggest disappointment, not just in their division, not just in the AFC, but probably the entire NFL. As far as the biggest surprise, and when I say surprise, I mean in a positive note, it might be the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, you're 6-5 right now. You're second in your division. You're tied with the Houston Texans, but you do have that tiebreaker over them, so you have a half-game lead. Jacksonville's 8-3 right now. They're playing really well, but I mean, look, the Colts are battling 3 or 4 other teams for one of those final wildcard spots. And if you would have told me at the beginning of the year, hey, first-year head coach Shane Steichen's coming in. He's never been a head coach in the NFL. You drafted Anthony Richardson, who I still don't think is going to be a very good NFL quarterback, but he was actually playing okay. Your starting quarterback gets hurt 4 games into the season. You have a brand new head coach, and then more than halfway through the season, you're 1 game over 500. You would have taken that all game long. I mean, I'm sure Colts fans did not expect to have this good of a season. I mean, if you continue where you are, you could finish the season 9-8 and possibly sneak into the wild card picture. No one expected that from the Colts. Their defense was supposed to take a step back this year. Again, you're breaking in a new quarterback. He gets hurt, so you throw Gardner Minshew in there, who he's a veteran, but it's his first year starting for your franchise. Jonathan Taylor comes back, but he's coming off of an injury. He had the offseason contract dispute with the team. What was it going to look like with him? You missed him the first 4 to 5 games of the regular season. Now he's back. Good 2-headed monster in that Indianapolis backfield, by the way, with him and Zach Moss. Zach Moss continues to be a really solid change of pace running back for that team. And then you have Gardner Minshew, who, look, whatever mistakes he's made, he's been able to make up for in crunch time. I think he's been about as solid as you can ask for. The defense has been much better than expected. I really like what I've seen from the Indianapolis Colts. As far as the division that I think is up for grabs the most, I hate to say it with the Ravens at 9-3, but it's got to be the AFC North. And, you know, that's something we kind of knew coming into this year. I mean, the Ravens are sitting there at 9-3. Right now, they would be the 1 seed in the AFC if things ended today. It would be the top seed. Them, Kansas City, Jacksonville are all kind of right there. But right behind them, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who Mike Tomlin continues to be a phenomenal head coach, continues to just find ways to win. The Pittsburgh Steelers have scored 182 points this year. They've given up 205. They are 7-4. And then the Cleveland Browns, look, Nick Chubb goes down second game of the year. Deshaun Watson's been in and out of the lineups. Hadn't even been that good when he's been in there. Now he's out the rest of the year. They're still competitive. They're still winning based on a solid running game with Jerome Ford, who's been a godsend to that offense. I mean, when Nick Chubb went down, you're like, okay, This team's going to have nothing on offense if Deshaun Watson doesn't pick it up. Jerome Ford's really been able to stabilize that running game. Kareem Hunt hadn't been bad as well, but Jerome Ford's really kind of been the bell cow back there. They're 7-4 as well. Cincinnati's out of it at 5-6. I get that, but I mean, look, that's still a division that if the Ravens were to drop, 1 or 2 in a row and Steelers and Browns keep winning, that division could get a little dicey for the AFC North as far as the Ravens go. Again, going back to the Indianapolis Colts, that's a team that could sneak in. Not only are you 6-5 if you're the Colts, you have a 2-4 record at home, which is not good, but you're 4-1 on the road. All of those games, pretty much, you've been an underdog. You've been able to win 4 out of 5. And you beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game you probably should not have won yesterday. Baker Mayfield was playing on almost one leg, but he was able to kind of rally the troops a little bit, but the Colts, again, made just enough plays when they had to on the defensive side of the ball. All right, look, that's going to wrap up our NFL talk for the day. We're going to come back. We got one more segment left. It's Take It or Leave It, so stay tuned. Here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team, been in the game 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Just check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. Look at some of the pictures of their great work, whether it's in the bathroom or in the closet. Some of these are full-scale bathroom renovations, and David Duvall and One Bath and Closets handle them from start to finish. You make one phone call, he handles the entire thing. Maybe it's something smaller than that. It's a tub-to-shower conversion, something like that, where you don't use the tub, you pull it out, you put it in a glass walk-in shower that's gorgeous, 1, and 2, functions like you need it to, as opposed to that tub, which you don't ever use. And on the closet side, just declutter. Use that space a little bit more efficiently. Customize a closet to your exact needs. If you need help with financing, David Duvall and his team can do that at One Bath and Closets. Check out that website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
I'm Tom Granick with Go Martin, Wardo's Po' Boys in Natchez, Mississippi. On behalf of the Granick family, we invite you to run, walk, or stroll in the second annual Rudolph Roll. Held on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, this holiday event will kick off at 8 a.m. on December 9th and will include a 10K, 5K, and 1 mile kids fun run. Along with the race, there will be live music, drinks, and of course, Po' Boys. We're looking forward to an even bigger party this year. For more information, please check out the link on Wardo's Facebook page or scan the QR code. Hope to see y'all there.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you on Tuesday's OTB. We'll continue to break down championship week as all the latest news out of LSU and their potential bowl destinations, college football playoff talk as well. Plus, brand new OTB mailbag and Nick Underhill. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome into the final segment of the day of the Hunt Palmer Show here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Taylor Sharp filling in for Mr. Hunt Palmer. He will be back tomorrow. Again, final segment of the show, so let's do like we do every day with a little take it or leave it. Mr. Beck, kick us off.
I'll take it.
How do you know I'm taking it?
I do that every now and then just because it said they both say take it, and sometimes it confuses me. But anyway, we'll get started with LSU's alternate uniforms against the Aggies. Take it or leave it.
Oh, everybody's going to laugh. Hunt Palmer's listening somewhere smiling. I'm leaving it. I hated these alternate uniforms, and I'm not the only one. Obviously, Hunt on the pregame show said it. Brandon Taylor said he didn't like it. Marlon wasn't a fan of it. I'm not against alternate uniforms if it adds something that you don't already have. Throw in a purple helmet, a gold jersey, something like that. All you did was take away the gold color, which might be the best color in your entire color scheme. I'm leaving it.
Next one here, Mac Jones has started his last game at quarterback for the Patriots. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm taking it.
I'll take it.
Look, I get that Bailey Zappi wasn't much better, but he was a little better. Things are not looking good for the New England Patriots offense right now, but you got to imagine they're going to have a high draft pick. They actually have a 10% chance of getting the number one pick over the Carolina Panthers. Well, it will go to the Chicago Bears. I don't think it'll happen, but they're going to have a top 5 pick. I imagine they're going to take a quarterback there. I imagine they would roll with Bailey Zappi the rest of the year, so I'm taking it. I think Mac's done in New England.
Well, not surprised to see this one on here, but if voting ended today, Deron Bland should be NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm taking it. Look, you guys thought I was going to go an entire show with no Dallas Cowboys talk. That is nonsense. It's impossible. You may have not thought it. I'm sure there's some angry people in the chat. They're going to come after me. Look, I'm taking it. We talked about it a little bit on OTB this morning. The guy just set the record for the most interception return for touchdowns in a single season NFL history. He's got 7 picks, 5 of them taken the other way for scores. He's a guy that wasn't even a starter at the beginning of the year on this defense. He's only playing because Trayvon Diggs went down with an injury. He's going to get paid in the offseason. It may not be in Dallas, but somewhere somebody's going to get a really good corner. And, I mean, look, if voting ended today, you got to give it to the guy right now, so I'm taking it.
Texas A&M has agreed to a deal with Mike Elko to make him the next head coach. Elko will win an SEC title in College Station. Take it or leave it. I'm
leaving it. Not that I don't think Mike Elko is a good coach. I'm not sure you can win at Texas A&M. I know a lot of people say, well, they got the resources, they got the money and all this. They hadn't done it since 1938. I think Elko's a good hire. I do think he's a little bit of a safe hire. I think he's got a high floor. We don't really know what his ceiling is. I think it was the correct hire for Texas A&M. I don't know if he'll ever be college football playoff contender at Texas A&M, so I'm going to leave that.
All right, last one here. Warriors forward Draymond Green says he doesn't regret putting Rudy Gobert in a headlock. Draymond has hurt his legacy. Take it or leave it.
I guess I'll take it for everybody outside of myself. I'm going to leave it because I already didn't think much of Draymond's legacy.
Well, yeah, this if anything, this just enhances his legacy of just being an infamous player.
Yeah, well, look, one time Hester was out. I think Mario was out as well. And so, obviously, me and T-Bob went off the rails, as we tend to do when we get together. But I was questioning, like, so many people are just saying that Draymond Green is a shoe-in for the Hall of Fame. I'm not so sure. I mean, he'll probably get in because of what he's done with the Warriors. You know, he's won all those titles. But, I mean, his numbers themselves, I mean, you take him off of the Warriors, you look at his numbers just as a whole, does this guy deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? I would say no. I don't think this hurts Draymond's legacy, but the way he's getting drugged through the media right now, I will take it for the outside world, but not necessarily for myself. All right, that's for Take It or Leave It. Had some good ones there. Jacob Beck, thank you for throwing in the Dallas Cowboys when they're
yeah, that was definitely me. I definitely put that in there.
Took me completely by surprise.
Yep.
Look, I had a lot of fun filling in for Hunt. Again, he will be back tomorrow. If you missed any of the show, hour one, we were wall-to-wall college football. Started recapping LSU's victory over Texas A&M. Then we kind of looked at the SEC, recapping the final regular season weekend, where things stand. My terrible preseason predictions as far as where things would finish final standings-wise in the SEC East and West. We had a little bit of fun with that. Then at 1:30, we had Denton Day on to talk college football from a national perspective. We talked college football playoff prediction, even a little Heisman Trophy talk between Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. We know that's a hot topic. I made my case for Malik Nabers to win the Biletnikoff Trophy, not Marvin Harrison Jr. And then hour number 2, it was entirely NFL football. Unfortunately, we did have to talk New Orleans Saints and the doom and gloom that is the New Orleans Saints offense. Ross Jackson was kind enough to hop on. And we talked NFL as a whole, biggest surprises, biggest disappointments in the NFL season. Again, Hunt Palmer will be back tomorrow. Had a lot of fun hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Always enjoy hopping in for Mr. Hunt Palmer, coming off the bench, if you will, to fill in for my guy in the midday show. He is back tomorrow, but we had a lot of fun. For Jacob Beck on the audio board, Casey Gaines running video. One last time, I'm Taylor Sharp. Had a lot of fun hanging out with Hunt. He is back tomorrow for the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt Moscona of After Further Review. He's going to drive you home from 3 to 6 here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.